last segment, we were discussing how they're openly announcing a world government of and by a private group of central banks, the same international institutions that created the derivatives implosion that we're seeing right now. Reuters, Obama urged to shape new economic order. Biden, in the last week, his running mate, the new vice president-elect, has called for world government twice last week and a new world order. Everything we told you decades ago, you are now seeing it. So they move out the old puppet Bush. They're moving in the new puppet to fool the left now to get on this bandwagon. And Congressman, I've been interviewing a lot of international experts, by the way, including Stiglitz, who's pushing all of this right now. And they are saying, yes, the big announcement that Powell's talking about on the 21st or 22nd of January will be devaluing the dollar and basically announcing a new economic order run by the very people that orchestrated all of this. But other world leaders are saying it's also going to be economic implosions and military adventures. Pakistan. What is this huge event where they're naming dates, but then won't tell us what it is?
Well, they're just getting us prepared, and they are doing the planning, and they're in charge. And unfortunately, the people get distracted. I consider our election, this whole past year or two, is just a distraction, making everybody think, boy, this is really critical. This election means everything. You know, if we don't have McCain, the world is going to go to the dogs, or vice versa. If we don't have Obama, we're not going to be able to take care of the people, and the poor are all going to suffer and die. And it's all orchestrated to people, so people are misdirected from the important issues of war and peace and money and the Federal Reserve and the business cycle and all these calamities that are going on. So they don't want us to know, and by the time we do know and figure it out, then it's so hard to reverse the trend. You know, it's sort of like the Patriot Act should have been defeated before we passed it. Once it's passed, it's really tough to repeal laws like that.
Congressman Powell is saying the 21st, the 22nd. Others are naming that date. You're there at the Hill. You're closer to the inside of the actual workings of power than the general public is. Have you heard anybody who has inside knowledge about what the crisis is, or is it going to be the announcement of the New World Order?
Well, I think it's going to be an announcement of a new monetary order, and they'll probably make it sound as very limited. They're not going to say this is world government, even though if you control the world money and you control the military, which they do indirectly, they do control the world. They're mainly interested in controlling the money and natural resources. And right now, it's not in the hands of private property owners. Here in Texas, we develop natural resources pretty much by private property ownership, and we all survive rather well. But compare that to what happens in Alaska. But what happens when it's a world central bank, worldwide regulation, and world control of the whole system of all the commodities and all the natural resources? What else can you call that other than world government?
And it's going to be controlled by the very financial institutions that orchestrated the controlled crisis. And they're openly saying, for those that don't know, and I'd like the Congressman to comment on this, but these IMF and World Bank chiefs, the head of the International Bank of Settlements, Treasury secretaries, others, Fed chairmen, are saying that we will pay different stock taxes, different derivatives taxes, different taxes on the stock market transactions, and there's going to be world carbon taxes that you buy from this group of banks. I mean, that is total control, and as Barack Obama said, he's going to bankrupt the coal industry that gives us 49% of our power. This is the neo-feudal model.
Yeah, it's indirect control. They're not going to own the coal mines, but and the coal processes. What they do is just tax you, and they can control us. And I've argued the case that we don't have private property in this country anymore because we have all the responsibility and liability. But can you use your land without getting permission? You have to get 20 permits to use your own land. And in order to stay on the land, you have to pay huge taxes. So we pay rent to stay on our own property. Can't use unless you get government control and government permission. But here now, the permission isn't going to just come from Austin or just come from Washington. Now we're going to have to go to La Hague or wherever they control things. And the big thing here is it slows things up so much. I imagine a few of them think that they'll be able to manage this and we'll be able to help take care of everybody, but obviously that isn't the case. They're going to make this world a lot poorer.
So Obama is the Pied Piper after 8 years of George Bush and all of his New World Order policies to lead America into the New World Order. That's why Newsweek's calling him the president of the world. They're calling him that in British and German and French newspapers. Obama mania in Germany. I mean, they are calling him the one. They are calling him the leader. I mean, anytime you see that in history, Congressman, isn't that dangerous?
I mean, that means not only dangerous, but maybe we have crossed the Rubicon. You know, maybe it's going to be very difficult. So we have to look for sources of optimism, and what do we do? Ultimately, though, all that happens to us is a result of philosophy and beliefs and convictions, and that's where I think we've made some inroads. You know, in spite of the shortcomings of our campaign, I think we made some inroads in calling attention to a lot of people in this country the importance of monetary policy, the importance of the central bank, the importance of how government causes so much problem. It's just that we're in the minority.
That's right. Your campaign covered all the issues that are now unfolding center stage on the world. But as you said, the global crisis they were going to engineer, for decades you've said this, that when we came to that point, it would be with the free market and liberty and freedom be able to use the crisis to expand liberty, or with the establishment who orchestrated it, use it to bring in more bondage. Now, I want to get into the trifecta, the House, the Senate, so now the legislative, and the executive, at least for a year or two, with just absolute power. How dangerous is that, with Chucky Schumer talking about all these new taxes and more gun control and fairness doctrine restricting free speech?
I think it's very dangerous, and the first year is probably going to be the most dangerous year. And just think of Bush's first year, but he also had the 9/11 thing that he could use to scare everybody to death. And Obama will use the financial crisis. The crisis will get worse, and there'll be some more military skirmishes around the world. So he'll say, well, we got to do this, we got to do this. And just as the Republican Congress wouldn't say boo to our Republican president, you know the Democratic Congress is never going to stand up. There'll be a couple, maybe a Dennis Kucinich and a few others who are principled and anti-war, but the Democratic Congress will not stand up to the president. As a matter of fact, a lot of Republicans might say, hey, how do I stay in here? Obama's so popular, I better go along with it. I don't want to look like I'm in opposition to this. Sort of like how many people went along with the bailout. Oh, I don't want to look like I don't care about the financial crisis. I better vote for this. Oh, I don't want to look like I don't care about the danger of the terrorists coming here. I better vote for the Patriot Act. There's going to be a lot of that, and there's going to be a lot of legislation passed, I think, in the first year.
Well, that's the issue. Obama's called for a 1 million-man youth brigade as large as the military domestically spying on us. He supports the warrantless wiretaps. The Air Force has now announced more brigades being added to NORTHCOM. To talk about crossing the Rubicon, what is the left, the mainline left, going to do when they realize that Barack Obama is actually going to intensify all of the policies that George Bush had?
Well, there's not too many left. I mean, you have the Ralph Naders and others, but they get marginalized, just as I was in the Republican Party. So